A lot of people say that living in an RV is cheaper than in a house. I've been full-time RVing for 2.5 years, 3 separate RVs, also had a house leading up to that. I think I found the answer, and I can tell you why. A lot of people do like to travel. Not a lot of folks want to fly somewhere and take an Airbnb these days with kind of the crazy prices that are going on with the Airbnbs. Housing costs are also pretty wild. I mean, from interest rates being at 6.5 and the prices being a little weird, there's a lot of folks that are thinking about what would it look like to be in an RV full-time. Not have a mortgage, not have utilities. These are some of the conceptions or misconceptions possibly that people have about RV life. A lot of folks thinking that you can just park on the side of the road anywhere you go, you can boondock in an RV. Some of those things are topics that maybe have changed a little bit over time. Some of those things are true, some of those things are complete bunkers. I'll go through them. Let me jump in here and say that I'm not a financial advisor of any kind. This is not professional or legal advice. It's my experience from talking to thousands of people at RV parks and my own experience having lived both sides of living at home, living in an RV. There's a lot of things to think about, and one big one that not a lot of folks address or talk about or think about in advance. First things first, you gotta buy an RV. Now, which one do you buy? That's a big question, but you gotta buy an RV. You gotta buy then a tow vehicle. If it's not a big bust, you gotta buy a tow vehicle to pull that RV. What are you gonna choose? And compare that to the cost of buying a home or renting a home. There's a lot of things that go into that. Are you buying it in cash? You paying interest? What are the state requirements for insurance in your state? What's that gonna cost you? Depreciation of your RV, but then also any events that happen, any repairs, any damages. There's a few things about boondocking. Where are you gonna be? Boondock at a national park, state park, be at an RV park, rent RV space from somebody. There's various costs, and they've been changing. Actually, a lot since COVID. They've changed a lot. Just how much it costs to plug your RV into various RV parks around the country. All that changes based on where you're RVing to. I've RV'd across the whole country from Alaska to Florida numerous times, and I've been to a lot of the parks. I've seen some of the things that you can't have at parks. Certain rules that have cropped up lately that a lot of folks aren't aware of. But in this video, I'm gonna focus exclusively on the cost difference between living in a home versus living in an RV. First things first, you gotta have money coming in. Remote work has been a game changer. Not everybody has that option with their career. Some people angle their careers to go that way and try to develop a career where they can go full remote. That's what a lot of people do, to be quite honest, to fund it. So when it comes to actually working, I wouldn't say that living in an RV necessarily means that you're not working or that you have a different financial situation than somebody in a house. That brings me to my first point. You have mortgage or rent, you have utilities. Either way, whether you're renting or owning the home, you got utilities. You have a lot of maintenance costs, home insurance, any major repairs, that's coming out of your pocket too if you're owning the home. If you're renting, you're subject to the rental market and to putting deposits down, signing 12-month leases, not having mobility. If you lose a job in one place, you got to pretty much find a job in that place or break your lease. So there's that element there as well. Those reasons are a couple of the big ones why COVID made RVing such a popular thing. Everybody hopped out of their house and started going to live full-time in an RV during COVID because a lot of careers went remote, then pulled that back. Some of them stayed remote, and ultimately people also wanted out of the cities, I think. So with prices going up and rates up, you definitely are going to have a mortgage in most parts of the country that's going to be sizable compared to the salaries that people are earning. That's going to impact the rent prices. The other half of this number one is rent. I'm seeing people list properties at $3,500 a month and it's signed and rented within 2 days. And it's not a massive house. It's just 4 walls and a roof. Gets the job done at a high price. So your mortgage and your rent are going to be your top expense. Got property taxes. Depending on where you live, you guys could have some sizable property taxes too. Property taxes can go up. They do go up typically. In one situation, doubled in 3 years. That was extreme, but it happened. That's going to impact the rent prices. Got to pay your insurance on that house. For a lot of folks in places like Florida, Alaska, Louisiana, when hurricanes, when massive windstorms come through, it's not always a great time dealing with insurance companies when a lot of people have been dropped from their policies when catastrophes happen, and that's unfortunate, but it leaves you with some unexpected problems. Utilities in a house, depending on where you are, it's going to be decently high. If you're running ACs in the summer in Texas, if you're running heat all winter in a cold state, realistically, you're going to have a pretty high bill for AC, for heating, for whatever else you're using in your house. And then last but not least, those repairs, those big ticket items, also just the regular maintenance. That does add up over time. Those top 5 are going to pretty much carry across just about every property. Caveat would be if you're renting, you're not paying property tax. You pay a little higher rent generally, but you're also not paying taxes. So living in an RV, do you avoid all those costs or are you just replacing them with something else? The short answer is Yes, you're replacing them with something else. The long answer is how and with what. You're still likely going to have a monthly payment if you go out and finance an RV. If you buy an old one, you don't have that problem, but you also fork out a chunk of change to buy it outright. So either way, you're still having to buy your 4 walls and a roof. It's just on wheels and it can go wherever you want it to go. On top of that, unlike a house, you now have to pay for somewhere to put your house. So you don't pay property taxes. Well, you kind of do in some states, but what you're really paying is for space rent. And space rent, honestly, before COVID, it really wasn't bad. After COVID, it skyrocketed. As soon as everybody went and bought RVs and decided they wanted to go work remotely and live on the road, needing a place to plug in, the misconception that people have that you can just get an RV and go and never stop, right? That's probably possible. To never plug into an RV park is you'd have to have a sizable water storage tank, a low enough energy demand to be able to run forever off of your setup. You're not gonna be running microwaves and things like that. And you also gotta think about what you're doing with your waste. Unless you're just gonna stop at Burger King every time nature calls, you've gotta deal with that. And that means you're gonna have to either find dump stations to empty your gray and black tanks into, or you gotta go and plug into an RV park and pay some fees. Now, I know that some people will go and boondock for a week, pay for a one night, boondock for 2 weeks, or even a month. In the rig that I'm in, I'm sure I could make it a few months, depending on water usage. And, you know, the thing has huge tanks and massive solar panel on the roof. It's got an energy package that will support that, plus a generator. But if you want to go do more off-roading, if you want to go down more trails, you're not going to want to have a huge rig. You might want to have a smaller rig, one that's a little more nimble, off-road tires, maybe a lift, or maybe a truck camper. A lot of folks do a truck camper in Alaska just because super easy to maneuver. Not everybody wants to be pulling a semi around. Campground fees can run generally anywhere from $900 to $3,000 or $4,000 a month, depending on where you are, depending on how high demand the place is. You also have to find a place. A lot of locations like Florida, there's a lot of parks that are 55 and up, or parks that don't allow kids at all. A lot of parks that can't accommodate a larger RV. And quite frankly, what I've seen is a lot of parks that are just full. By a certain point in the season in certain locations, places book up so fast. And you might not be able to find a park if you haven't planned ahead and already gotten that. But in some of these higher demand places, yeah, I've seen prices of $2,400 a month. I haven't paid that, but I've seen prices of that amount. I've even seen summertime prices on the Oregon coast of over $5,000 a month for monthly RV stay. So you can see how very quickly, based on your location and demand of that location, your cost could really exceed living in a house. Quite honestly, you could pay more than a mortgage. A lot of folks don't have a mortgage that's $5,500 a month or even $4,500 a month. A lot of people have a mortgage that's less than some of these RV parks are charging. Now, that's not the majority of parks, but it's some parks. I'd say the average is generally around $1,200 a month right now, from what I've seen. Across numerous states, I think it's just about $1,200 a month is my best wild stab. A general medium has been about $1,200, maybe $1,300. Some of them do charge utilities. Have a meter for your electricity usage and read that and tell you what you owe them every month for electricity. And that rate varies. I've seen some places charge 10 cents a kilowatt hour. I've seen some places charge 32 cents. It all depends. And if you're in a hot place, running a lot of ACs, you can see how that can add up, and you can get a bill for $200 or $400 a month for electricity if you're running 3 air conditioners and running your microwave all the time and washing your washing machine for your clothes, all that stuff. It adds up, and you can see a pretty high electricity bill come in if the park does that. Some don't, not all do. And speaking of utilities, you still got utilities. You got to buy propane, which can run you a lot when you're trying to heat with it. Starlink or whatever other internet service provider that you want on the road. Starlink's been the best for me. And while you have maintenance and repairs on your house, you definitely have them on your RV. You're pulling a house down the road 65, 70 miles an hour, and there's bumps, there's potholes, there's this and that. You're putting your house through a lot, pulling it down the road. Things are going to happen. You put your house literally through an earthquake while you're driving down the road. Now, ideally, it's not bumpy roads or anything like that, but doesn't matter. Most houses don't get built and just pulled down the road. So you've got a whole different set of maintenance and repairs. You got to worry about your tow vehicle. You got to worry about your RV. It's moving around all the time. What happens if somebody hits it? And that brings me to a consideration that a lot of people don't think about until they're in that position. You go full time in an RV, you're on the road, and something happens to your RV. Let's say somebody, God forbid, gets in an accident and the RV is no longer livable. You got to find a place to live. If you gave up your main house or don't have a rental anymore, sold your house or whatever else, and you lose access to your RV to live in, which is your house now, that's a problem, because hotels and Airbnbs are going to add up real quick. I don't think it happens to a lot of people, but if it does, it can get pricey fast. So a lot of people will go full-time RV with a base camp somewhere. To answer the question, is it cheaper to live in an RV than in a house? My short answer would be no. My long answer is, it depends how you do it. All of these things are going to help determine how much you spend living in an RV and whether it's better than buying a house, whether the interest rates are 2.3 or 6.3 and the house is 300,000 or 600,000. You can probably outdo either living in an RV, and the same vice versa. It boils down to how do you live, whether you're living in a house or an RV, how do you live, and what do you want to do with it? There's a lot of reasons for living in an RV. There's a lot of major benefits living in an RV. There's a lot of major downsides living in an RV. I'll do videos about each of those. Since about 2020, there have been more people RVing than ever before, and people are keeping it that way. There's a lot of folks that don't want the hassle of home ownership, don't want the anchor geographically. A lot of people don't trust all the changing things in our world right now, and a lot of people just want to just go look at some rivers and mountains and bears and ocean and forget about the rest, you know. And some people do it for work. So there's pros and cons to each. Look out for those 2 videos coming up. But ultimately, my experience has been that it can be much cheaper to live in an RV rather than live in a house. Not by a ton, but if you do all the things right, it can be. If you do 1 or 2 things wrong, that can go reverse on you real quick. Boils down to a lot of details and a lot of strategy, a lot of nuance that I'll dig into in future videos. And that's it. Thanks for watching. I hope the information helps. Like the video, subscribe to the channel for a lot more RV, home, wildlife, living on the road adventures. Catch you next time.